I'm honored and greatly appreciate the opportunity to testify. America is at a crossroads. Illegal alien crimes are the result of Congress's lax treatment of border security and law enforcement. We stand here as the rule of law intersects lawlessness and ask, is Congress willing to tell the American people that it has decided to reward lawlessness over lawfulness? Today I would like to tell you about my wife's late grandmother, Louise Solomon. Louise was the child of parents who immigrated from Italy in the early 1900s. They were America's true dreamers. Her family settled in Omaha, Nebraska, where her father worked as a carpenter. Louise and her family learned English, worked hard, and loved America. She was a proud U.S. citizen and contributed to America's unique culture. She respected our nation and its citizens by obeying our laws. These same laws, if they had been enforced, might have saved Louise, or as we call her, Graham, and she might still be with us here today. On July 21, 2013, 1 year after Obama's unconstitutional Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA, which gave millions of illegal aliens a guarantee that they would not be subject to U.S. law, Graham's life was ripped from her. Graham was 93 and had been sleeping peacefully in her bed until she was violently awakened by an 18-year-old illegal Mexican national by the name of Sergio Perez. With the entire weight of his body straddling her and pinning her down, Perez brutally beat Graham. In actuality, brutality or brutal is not adequate to describe what he did to Graham. Perez shattered both of her orbital sockets, broke her nose in 3 places, and broke several of her ribs. In pummeling Graham's face, Perez forced her teeth to push through her tongue and lip, and the blood from that injury began filling her lungs. Perez then brutally raped and sodomized her, leaving 2 pools of blood coagulating on the carpet beneath her. The ferocity of his attack was so severe that in Graham's 12-foot by 14-foot bedroom with 10-foot ceilings, there was literally not 1 square foot on any of the walls or ceiling that did not contain a moderate amount of blood splatter. At 93, our family's matriarch's dream of peacefully living out her golden years was literally crushed by a monster. 4 days later, with the pooling of blood in her lungs suffocating her, Graham succumbed to her injuries. According to the Douglas County, Nebraska District Attorney, we were told that not only was Perez an illegal alien, but he had also been deported twice. Yet here he was in Omaha, Nebraska, working as a contract worker for an Omaha roofing company. Caught and deported twice, this monster was still given special privileges to live and work where our most vulnerable citizens live. We also learned that he was a member of the Los Serenos gang. He was here illegally, poised to murder. He killed Graham, and our dreams became nightmares. One of the responsibilities given to our government by the Constitution is the protection of its citizens. In Graham's case, the government not only failed, it failed miserably. But this tragedy doesn't begin or end with Graham's life being stolen by an illegal alien. Sadly, this story is repeated countless times across this nation. There are thousands of Americans who have suffered at the hands of illegal aliens in this country, and now the government asks us not only to welcome them with open arms, but to also reward them and give them the same rights and liberties that we have as citizens. The U.S. is a nation governed by the rule of law. When our government decides to condone and reward those who have broken the law, we cease to be a nation of laws and instead race down a slippery slope called tyranny and chaos. And it will not stop with DACA, which experts say will reach over 2.3 million work permits and jobs Americans want but will not have. The next question will be, what will Congress do with the parents of illegals? Right behind that will be those who will be labeled as law-abiding illegals. Certainly, these 10+ million will expect a special status to stay and live out their dreams also. Why should they be penalized? And what about those who have only committed minor crimes? Must we be so cruel as to ask them to return to their countries of origin? And what if those countries don't want them or refuse to take them? What will we do then? You see, the list of exceptions is endless, as will be the flow of undocumented aliens pouring across the border, which you refuse to secure. I remind all the members of Congress that you work for we the people. There are some members of Congress who understand this and have dedicated their lives to the people. Unfortunately, there are far too many others who are dedicated to furthering their own agendas. America first no longer matters to them. I stand here today for we the people. Our fellow citizens are dying at the hands of those who should not be here in the first place, while Congress fails to respond adequately and instead bickers like children on the playground at recess. All the while, the consequences of their deadly actions or inactions are ignored. American families are bereft and suffering. Our families are permanently separated from our loved ones, while you fret over the plight of the DACA children brought here illegally, who, by the way, are up to 35 years old. Isn't it time that you stopped and just did the job that you were hired for? In closing, when you go home tonight or this weekend and you gather with your families around the dining room table, why don't you go ahead and decide what child, parent, or grandparent are you willing to sacrifice so that others here illegally can realize their dreams? Thank you, and I'm